The wind screamed through the trees, clawing at the cabin's wooden walls like some unseen beast trying to get in. Snow swirled and thick, blinding waves outside, erasing the world beyond Alex Peterson's small window. He pulled his coat tighter and leaned back in his chair, listening to the fire crackle. Winter in the Alaskan wilderness was always brutal, but this storm was worse than most. Minus 48 degrees. The kind of cold that stole the breath from your lungs and turned exposed skin to ice in minutes. Out here, miles from the nearest town, you either respected the winter or you died in it. Then he heard it. A thud against the door. Alex froze. The sound was too heavy to be the wind, too deliberate to be a falling branch. He set his coffee down and reached for the rifle leaning against the wall. His heartbeat drummed in his ears as he listened. Then came another sound. A whimper. Faint. Almost swallowed by the howling storm. His gut tightened. He'd spent years in the wild, enough to know that no animal should be out in this cold. Asterisk, asterisk, not unless it was desperate. Asterisk, asterisk. Cautiously, he stepped to the door. His fingers hesitated on the latch. Opening up to a wild animal in the middle of a blizzard was a damn good way to get killed. But that sound. Another whimper. Against every instinct, he cracked the door open. Snow and ice blasted into the cabin, and at first he saw nothing but a wall of white. Then, as his eyes adjusted, his breath caught in his throat. A grizzly bear stood just beyond the threshold. Not just any bear, a mother. And, at her feet, half buried in the snow, were two tiny cubs. Alex's grip tightened on the door. His body screamed at him to shut it, lock it, and pray. This was insane. A wild grizzly, so close to a human cabin? It wasn't normal. It wasn't right. But she wasn't attacking. She wasn't growling. She wasn't even moving. Instead, she stared at him with dark, desperate eyes, her breath fogging in the freezing air. Alex swallowed hard. The cubs weren't moving. One of them twitched weakly, but the other lay still. Asterisk, asterisk, too still. Asterisk, asterisk. Alex's pulse hammered. He wasn't a fool. He knew what happened to animals in this kind of cold. The cubs were barely clinging to life. Another hour, maybe less, and they'd be gone. He looked at the mother again. She should have attacked by now. Should have lunged the moment he opened the door. But she didn't. She just stood there, waiting, watching. And then, in the silence between them, Alex understood something terrifying. She had brought them here. Brought them to him. Alex's breath came in sharp bursts. He was alone in the middle of the wilderness, standing in the doorway of his cabin with a desperate mother bear and two dying cubs at his feet. Everything in his head screamed at him to close the door, but his heart whispered something else. Help them. Slowly, cautiously, he knelt in the snow. The mother bear tensed, her muscles rippling beneath thick, frost-covered fur. Alex hesitated. If he moved too fast, she could rip him apart in seconds. He reached out. Gently. Carefully. Asterisk, asterisk. His fingers brushed against the first cub. Ice cold, barely breathing. He lifted it, wrapping it in the folds of his coat. The second cub was even weaker, its tiny body stiff. His eyes flicked to the mother. She didn't move. Didn't growl. Didn't stop him. His heart pounded as he backed toward the cabin. The cubs cradled against his chest. Then, with one last glance at the mother bear, still standing silent, still trusting him, Alex stepped inside and shut the door. He turned toward the fire, gripping the shivering cubs tighter. Outside, the mother bear didn't leave. She just sat in the snow, watching, waiting. And for the first time in his life, Alex realized something chilling. He wasn't just fighting to save these cubs. He was now part of something far bigger, something wild, something that could kill him, or change everything, forever. The fire crackled, casting flickering shadows along the wooden walls. Alex knelt near the hearth, his pulse still hammering as he peeled away his coat, revealing the two shivering cubs bundled inside. Their fur was stiff with frost, their tiny chests rising and falling in weak, uneven breaths. Outside, the storm raged on. And beyond the snow-covered window, she was still there. The mother bear hadn't moved. She sat just beyond the porch, her massive form half buried in the snowdrift, staring at the cabin. Her dark eyes, haunted, waiting, pleading, hadn't left him since he'd taken her cubs inside. Alex wasn't sure what unsettled him more, the fact that a full-grown grizzly was parked outside his home, or the fact that she had willingly let a human take her young. This was insane. Bears didn't think like this. They didn't ask for help. And yet, here they were. A weak, wheezing sound snapped his attention back to the cubs. The smaller one, the one that had barely moved outside, let out a shallow gasp, its tiny body twitching. No, come on, Alex muttered, quickly wrapping the little creature in a thick wool blanket. He grabbed another from the chair and bundled the second cub, tucking them both close to the fire. The warmth would help. But it wouldn't be enough. Alex swore under his breath. These cubs needed heat, real heat, and fast. He glanced around, searching for anything else that could help. His eyes landed on the metal kettle resting near the fire. Warm water. That might work, Carefully, he poured some into a bowl and dipped the edge of a cloth in the warm liquid. Moving slowly, he pressed the damp fabric against the smaller cub's frozen fur. At first, there was no reaction. Then, after what felt like forever, a twitch. A faint, weak whimper. Alex exhaled sharply, relief washing over him. "They're not gone yet," he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. A heavy thump outside made him tense. He turned toward the window. The mother bear had moved. Now she was closer. Too close. Her massive head was nearly level with the glass, her breath fogging the surface. She wasn't snarling. She wasn't trying to break in. She was just watching. Alex swallowed hard. She was waiting to see if he would keep his end of the unspoken bargain. His mind screamed that this was madness. He should have shut the door and let nature take its course. But looking at the cubs, small, fragile, fighting for life, he knew there was no turning back. A long, low groan echoed from outside, deep and mournful. The mother bear shifted, her claws scraping against the frozen wood of the porch. She wanted her cubs back. Alex hesitated. They wouldn't survive if he put them back out there. Not yet. Another hour, maybe two, and they might have a chance. But if he stepped outside now, he glanced at his rifle by the door. No, she hadn't heard him. She could have, but she hadn't. She had trusted him. Alex took a slow breath. He stood, pulling his coat back on, and stepped toward the door. The moment he unlatched it, the storm howled in, biting at his skin. The mother bear rose to her full height, a massive, towering shadow against the storm. Alex's heart pounded as he stepped forward, the cubs still wrapped in his arms. For a single, breathless moment, man and beast faced each other in the frozen night. Then, he knelt in the snow. The mother bear huffed, her nostrils flaring, her dark eyes locked onto her young. Alex slowly, carefully, set the cubs down. The wind roared between them. The mother took a hesitant step forward, then another. She sniffed the cubs, nudging them gently with her massive snout. Alex stayed perfectly still. Any wrong move, and this could end badly. Then, something happened that he never expected. The mother bear looked at him. Really looked at him. There was no rage, no threat, only something almost unreadable, something close to understanding. Then, without a sound, she gathered her cubs into her massive paws, turned, and disappeared into the storm. Alex exhaled, his breath clouding in the frozen air. It was over, or so he thought. The next morning, as the storm cleared, Alex stepped onto the porch. And there, right outside his door, lay a fresh stack of fish. A gift. A debt repaid. And for the first time in his life, Alex wondered, had he just earned the trust of something truly wild? Or had he just stepped into a world he would never escape? The morning was eerily still. The storm had passed, leaving behind a frozen world draped in white. The trees, once swaying violently in the wind, now stood frozen in place, their branches sagging under the weight of fresh snow. Alex stood on his porch, staring at the offering left behind. A small pile of fish, fresh, unfrozen. He knelt, running a gloved hand over the icy scales. These weren't scraps. This wasn't something left behind by scavengers. The mother bear had brought them. He exhaled, a misty breath escaping into the cold air. It didn't make sense. Wild animals didn't thank people. They didn't trade. And yet, that's exactly what this felt like. A gift. A debt repaid. Alex picked up one of the fish, still firm and cold, but not yet frozen, meaning she had left them recently. He glanced toward the treeline, half expecting to see her massive form watching him from the distance. Nothing. Only silence. He wasn't sure if that relieved him or unsettled him more. With a final glance at the horizon, he carried the fish inside, tossing one into a pan over the fire. As it sizzled, filling the cabin with a rich scent of cooking meat, his thoughts wandered back to last night. The look in her eyes. The trust. Would he see her again? A sharp snap in the woods made him freeze. His instincts flared. That wasn't the soft crunch of fresh snow beneath paws. That was a branch breaking. Heavy. Deliberate. Asterisk. He turned toward the window, his body tense. A shadow moved between the trees. Bigger than a man. At first, he thought, ****er. But then the figure stepped into the clearing, and his stomach dropped. Not her. Another bear. A massive, battle-scarred grizzly. Alex had lived in the wild long enough to recognize a dangerous animal when he saw one. This wasn't a starving bear desperate for food. This was something else. A rogue. The beast's fur was patchy, matted with dirt and old scars. One of its ears was torn, a jagged reminder of past battles. Unlike the mother bear, who had looked at him with something close to understanding. ****. This one's gaze was nothing but hunger. ****. A deep growl rumbled through the clearing. Alex slowly reached for his rifle. The rogue bear took a step forward. Then another. It had picked up a scent. His scent. The fish. ****. Alex's mind raced. If this bear had been tracking the mother and her cubs, that meant. His stomach clenched. They were in danger. He gripped the rifle tighter, his breath slow and controlled. This wasn't his first time dealing with a predator, but something about this bear felt wrong. Then the rogue stopped. Its head lifted slightly, nostrils flaring. It smelled something else. Something that made it hesitate. Alex didn't dare move. A moment passed. Then, without warning, the rogue let out a low, guttural huff and turned back toward the trees. It didn't run, didn't hurry, just disappeared into the woods, as if it knew something Alex didn't. Alex let out a slow breath. But his relief was short-lived, because in the snow where the rogue had stood, pressed deep into the ice, were massive paw prints, leading straight toward the mother bear's den. ****. Alex moved fast. The moment the rogue bear disappeared into the woods, he was already pulling on his heavier coat, slinging his rifle over his shoulder. His breath clouded in the freezing air as he followed the tracks, boots crunching over the snow. This wasn't just about him anymore. The mother bear had trusted him. And if that rogue had picked up her trail, she and her cubs were in danger. He gritted his teeth and pushed forward. The forest was eerily silent, the usual sounds of nature swallowed by the lingering cold. The trees stretched endlessly in every direction, their frost-covered limbs creaking as they shifted. The tracks ahead were deep and wide. ****, the rogue wasn't far. ****. But there was something else. Smaller tracks. The mother bears. They veered off, leading toward the rocky cliffs that marked the entrance to the river caves. If she had taken shelter there, it meant she wasn't far. But the rogue had picked up her trail, and he was getting closer. Alex's pulse quickened. He had to move faster. The tracks led him to a clearing at the base of a steep rock face, half buried in snow. At first, it seemed empty. Then, a deep, ragged breath. Alex's fingers tightened around his rifle as he turned toward the noise. The rogue bear was there, and it wasn't alone. Half hidden behind the rocks, the mother bear stood protectively in front of her cubs, her massive form tense, her fur bristling. She was hurt. ***, a deep gash ran along her shoulder, fresh blood staining the snow beneath her. Asterisk, asterisk. The rogue bear had already attacked. But she was still standing, still fighting. Alex raised his rifle, leveling it at the rogue's broad chest. The beast turned. Dark, empty eyes locked onto him. For a moment, neither moved. Then, asterisk, asterisk, the rogue lunged. Asterisk, asterisk. Alex fired. The shot cracked through the cold air, echoing through the trees. The bullet hit its mark, tearing into the rogue's shoulder. But it wasn't enough. The bear staggered, but didn't fall. Alex cursed, chambering another round as the rogue turned toward him, lips pulling back in a deep, guttural snarl. It was angry now, and it was coming for him. He barely had time to raise his rifle again when a blur of movement, a roar of fury. Asterisk, asterisk. The mother bear charged. She slammed into the rogue, her powerful frame knocking it off balance. The two bears collided in a frenzy of claws and teeth, snarling and snapping as they fought. Snow sprayed into the air as they crashed into the ground, rolling dangerously close to the cliff's edge. Alex's heart pounded. The rogue was bigger, stronger, but the mother bear wasn't backing down. She fought with everything she had, teeth sinking into the rogue's throat. The larger bear let out a strangled roar, its claws raking across her side. But she didn't let go. She was fighting for her cubs, for her life. And then, with one final, savage lunge, she drove the rogue over the edge. Alex ran to the cliffside just in time to see the rogue disappear into the ravine below. It was over. He turned back, breathless, searching for the mother bear. She stood over her cubs, blood staining her fur, her breast ragged. But she was still standing. Their eyes met. For the second time, she didn't growl, didn't threaten. She just looked at him. And this time, Alex knew. She understood. Without another sound, she nudged her cubs toward the trees, limping into the fading light of the forest. Alex watched her go, his pulse still racing. He had saved her. But more than that, he had become part of something bigger than himself. And as he stood there in the quiet snow, rifle still in his hands, one thought burned in his mind. This wasn't over. Not yet. The wind howled through the valley, carrying the scent of blood and snow. Alex stood at the edge of the ravine, staring down where the rogue bear had fallen. The dark shape lay still, half buried in fresh powder. It was over. And yet deep in his gut, he felt something uneasy, like this was only the beginning. He turned back toward the trees, scanning for any sign of the mother bear. Gone. She had vanished into the wilderness, her cubs trailing behind her. But something had changed. They had shared a moment, a silent understanding. Asterisk, asterisk. By the time Alex returned to his cabin, the sky had darkened to a deep blue, the last hints of daylight fading behind the trees. The fire in the hearth had burned low, the warmth barely keeping the cold at bay. He tossed another log onto the embers, rubbing his hands together. His mind was still reeling. A bear had trusted him. Not just any bear, a mother who had risked everything to protect her young. And in that moment, when she could have turned on him, could have seen him as no different from any other predator in her world, she hadn't. Alex sat heavily in his chair, staring at the fire. He had saved her cubs. She had saved him. There was something unspoken between them now. A pact. But what did that mean? A sharp sound outside made him stiffen. His rifle was still leaned against the wall, loaded but untouched. He moved toward the door carefully, pressing a hand against the wood. Another sound. Heavy footsteps in the snow. His heart pounded. It couldn't be the rogue. It was dead. He exhaled, cracking the door open just enough to see outside. The moon cast an eerie glow over the snow-covered trees, long shadows stretching across the clearing. At first, he saw nothing. Then, asterisk, asterisk movement, asterisk, asterisk. His breath caught. There, just beyond the tree-line, asterisk, asterisk. A massive shape. Watching. Waiting, asterisk, asterisk. The mother bear. She wasn't alone. Her cubs stood beside her, their small bodies barely visible against the snowy backdrop. She wasn't approaching, wasn't threatening. Just there, watching him. Alex gripped the doorframe. He should have been afraid. He wasn't. Something deep inside told him she had come for a reason. Slowly, deliberately, he stepped onto the porch. The cold bit at his skin, but he barely felt it. They stood in silence for what felt like forever. Then, the mother bear dipped her head. A slow, deliberate gesture. Alex inhaled sharply. Not a challenge. Not a threat. Acknowledgement. Before he could move, she turned, leading her cubs back into the woods. The darkness swallowed them whole. Alex stood frozen, his breath coming in slow, measured gasps. A part of him wanted to call out, to stop her, to ask her what this meant, even though he knew she couldn't answer. But deep down, he already knew. She wasn't just another bear anymore. She would return. And when she did, everything would change. The days passed in eerie silence. Alex went about his routine, chopping wood, fishing along the frozen river, keeping the cabin stocked. But his mind was elsewhere. On her, the mother bear. She had come back that night, standing in the snow, watching him. It hadn't been chance. It hadn't been curiosity. It had meant something. And now, as the world around him remained locked in winter's grasp, he couldn't shake the feeling that he would see her again. He just didn't expect it to be like this. It started with the ravens, circling high above the treetops, their black wings stark against the gray sky. Scavengers, a sign of death. Alex tightened his grip on his rifle as he followed their movement. Something was wrong. The hairs on the back of his neck stood on end. Then he saw the tracks. Blood. A dark trail in the snow, fresh and uneven, leading toward the valley. His stomach turned. Something was hurt. Something big. And deep down he knew. He sprinted toward the river, following the crimson path. His breath came in sharp bursts, his boots kicking up powder. Then, a shape in the snow. His heart stopped. She was there. The mother bear, collapsed near the river's edge, her body heaving with slow, ragged breaths. Alex swallowed hard, stepping forward. Her fur was matted with blood, dark against the white snow. Not hers. Something had attacked her. Her eyes flickered open at the sound of his boots crunching closer. She didn't growl, didn't move, just watched him, as if she had been waiting. Alex knelt beside her, scanning for wounds. Deep claw marks along her side, a gash on her shoulder. Fresh, but not fatal. She had been in a fight. And then, he saw them. The cubs, huddled beneath a fallen tree, wide-eyed, trembling. Alive, but afraid. Alex exhaled, turning back to the mother. "You fought for them," he murmured, his voice barely a whisper. Her heavy breaths fogged the air between them. Then a sound. A growl. Not hers. Alex's blood ran cold. He turned his head just in time. From the trees, a second rogue bear stepped into the clearing. Bigger than the last one. Meaner. Its matted fur was streaked with fresh wounds. From her. She had already fought it once. And lost. Now, it was coming to finish the job. Alex's pulse thundered. He raised his rifle, heart pounding in his ears. This wasn't just about him anymore. The mother bear let out a weak, rumbling growl, trying to rise. But she was too weak. She couldn't fight this one. Not alone. Alex squared his shoulders, stepping forward. He wasn't letting her do this alone. The rogue bear let out a guttural snarl, lowering its head, preparing to charge. Alex didn't hesitate. He fired. The bullet struck true, slamming into the rogue's shoulder. It let out a deafening roar, staggering back, but it wasn't enough to take it down. It turned its fiery gaze on Alex now, lips peeling back in fury. Then a shadow moved, The mother bear, with everything she had left, charged, She slammed into the rogue with a furious roar, teeth flashing, claws raking. The two titans clashed, the force of the impact shaking the ground. Alex fired again, aiming for the rogue's exposed flank. Another hit. The rogue howled in pain, stumbling. It was over. With one final, desperate lunge, the mother bear clamped her jaws around the rogue's throat and drove it into the snow. For a moment, nothing moved. Then, with a final, gurgling breath, the rogue went still. The mother bear staggered back, her sides heaving. She turned toward Alex, bloodied, weak, but victorious, asterisk, asterisk. Their eyes met. And in that moment, Alex knew, asterisk, asterisk, this was the final test, asterisk, asterisk. He had saved her cubs. She had saved his life. They weren't enemies. They never had been. Slowly, the mother bear turned, nudging her cubs toward the trees. She limped, but she didn't stop. She paused only once, looking back at Alex. And for the first time, he understood completely. This was goodbye. Not forever, but for now. Then, she disappeared into the forest, her cubs trailing behind, leaving Alex standing there, rifle in hand, heart still racing. He let out a slow breath. The wild had given him something tonight. Not just a fight, not just survival, a connection. And somehow he knew she would always be out there, watching, asterisk, asterisk, just like he would be watching for her.